Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, you're welcome to Sew with Mediva. And if you're a returning subscriber or a returning viewer, thank you for sticking to my channel. So in today's video, I'll be showing you guys how to cut and sew this trending two-piece short set. And I achieved this style using 3 yards of African print fabric. So if this is something you are interested in, make sure to keep watching and make sure you watch till the end so that you don't miss out on any detail. And if you find this video useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, share to your loved ones, and subscribe to my channel. So let's jump right in. So I have 3 yards of this beautiful African print fabric. So I'll be making a short pant from this fabric as well. So you just need about 1.5 yards for your top, and I have my other materials here. So I have my fabric here. It's the complete 3 yards of fabric. So because I'll be cutting the front and the back panels together, I'm going to be folding my fabric the other way. I won't be folding like this. I'll be folding using the full length of my Ankara, which is 45 inches. So you're basically merging the upper and the lower part of your Ankara fabric together. So we are folding this way because we want to cut the front and the back panels together, and we need a longer length. You're going to need more than the length of your Ankara fabric. I hope you guys understand. So after folding, what I have here is 22.5 inches. So from the closed angle of my fabric, I'll mark my shoulder to shoulder measurements divided by 2, which is 8 inches, and the remaining 14.5 inches is going to serve as the sleeve length. I'll be working with that. You can decide to reduce yours. So after that, from the upper part of my fabric, I'll come down by 19 inches, which is going to be the length of the front panel. So remember that this is a high-low top, meaning that the front panel is going to be shorter than the back panel. So after marking, I'll go ahead to fold my fabric this way, making sure that the fold stops on that 19 inches mark. I hope you guys understand. So I'll fold it this way so that the fold stops directly on that 19 inches mark. Actually, I want to make use of 18 inches for the length. The extra 1 inch is going to be for my folding allowance at the base. So I'll just go ahead now to confirm the length of the front panel. So I have my 19 inches here for the front panel. Let me turn it the other way so that you guys would understand what I'm saying. So I folded my fabric in a way that it stops at the 19 inches mark. So the next thing we want to do is to mark out the length for the back. So for the back, I'm going to be using 27 inches, and I'll go ahead to mark it out. So you can decide to make yours longer. It just depends on what you want. After marking, I will cut out the excess fabric and set it aside. So right now we have our fabric in a fold of 4, but we have it in 2 different lengths. So this first 2 is going to serve as the front panel, while the last 2 is going to serve as the back panel. I hope you guys understand. So let's go ahead now to mark out the measurements on the fabric. So I'll just flip the fabric this way in a way that it's facing me. So I have 22.5 inches here, like I said earlier. The first thing I'm going to do is to come over to the closed angle of your fabric, the folded angle, and mark the neckline. So the width of the neckline is 3 inches, while the depth of the back neckline is 1 inch. And then connect the points together this way. For the front neckline, the depth is going to be 8 inches because it's in the form of a V neckline. So I'll mark 8 inches, and from that 8 inches point I'll come in by 2 inches and then connect it this way. Then I'll use my ruler to connect it all the way to meet the neck width. So for the collar design in front, I'm going to mark that 2 inches all the way down and connect it together. So I'll come in from the center front by 2 inches and then connect it all the way down. So you're doing this only on the front panel. So we'll be cutting out this part on the front panel and replacing with our collar. So I'll come over to the open angle of my fabric and then mark my armhole opening. Normally I use 8 inches. I'll add 1 inch for ease, making 9, and 1 inch for seam allowance. And then I'll extend the line into my fabric this way to create my chest line. So starting from this new line I marked, I'm going to mark my bust measurements divided by 4, which is 10 inches, and I'll add extra 5 inches to it for ease and for seam allowance. So I'll go ahead to mark it all the way down and extend the line. So I'll extend it all the way into the back panel this way. So make sure to cover out this armhole area like this. So this is basically all for the drafting of this top. Let's go ahead now to cut it out. So I'll start by cutting out the back neckline. So this top does not have any shoulder slope, and then I'll cut out the sides. So after cutting out the side, I'll open up my fabric this way to cut out the front neckline. So you're going to be cutting out this part and we'll be replacing it with the collar. So after cutting, when you open up your fabric, you're going to have it looking like a jacket this way. And you can also see the high-low effect on the front and the back panel. The next thing we want to work on is the collar. So I'll go ahead now to fold up my neckline. I'll fold up my neckline this way so that I can get the center back. Just follow what I'm doing. So fold up the neckline this way and then create a notch on the center back. So after creating the notch, I'll go ahead to measure what I have from the upper part all the way around the neckline. So since the fabric is in a fold of 2, whatever you get after measuring the neckline, you're going to multiply by 2. So for mine, I got 23 inches, so multiplied by 2, I'll be needing a fabric that is 46 inches long for my collar. So I've gone ahead to cut it out and I have about 48 inches just in case, just to be on the safe side. So for the wideness of my fabric, I have 5 inches. So I'll be needing 2 inches on one side of my collar and 2 inches on the other side. And then I'll be folding in half an inch on both sides for the same allowance. So iron your hair stay to the wrong side of your fabric and then fold in half an inch on one edge and half an inch on the other edge. So when you fold it into 2 equal parts, you'll be left with 2 inches width for your collar. So I'll take it to the ironing table now. I'll iron half an inch on the 2 edges and then fold it into 2 this way. So after I was done doing that, this is what it looks like. So I'll fold my collar into 2 equal parts now to locate the midpoint. So I'll just go ahead to use my chalk to mark out the midpoint. So the next thing we want to do is to determine how wide we want our neckline to be. So I'll go ahead to fold the neckline of my top into 2 equal parts again like this. And then remember we used 8 inches when we were drafting it on the fabric. So I'm going to come down for the front neckline by 8 inches. And for the back panel, I'll measure what I have there, which is 4 inches. So that means the total opening of my neckline is about 12 inches. So we're going to be using this on the collar. So this is my collar now. I'll go ahead now to flip it to the wrong side. I'll flip it to the wrong side and get the midpoint. Just follow exactly what I'm doing. So this is me flipping my collar to the wrong side and folding into 2. So remember that neckline we marked on our dress just now, the 12 inches neckline. I'm going to come down from the center of my collar and mark that same 12 inches. I'll mark the 12 inches and then from that 12 inches mark, I'm going to go ahead and stitch the fabric down on the center point. So you're going to leave that upper part open because it's going to serve as your neckline opening. I hope you guys understand. So after stitching, this is what we have. So I'll go ahead now to flip it to the right side. So you should have something that looks just like this. You can also go ahead to iron it out so that it lays down flat. The next thing we want to do now is to attach this collar to our front panel. So I'll get my front panel now. So I'm going to be fixing the midpoint of my back neckline into my collar this way. Just fix it into your collar this way and then go ahead to pin it down. So I'll continue fixing my neckline into the collar this way. Just go ahead to open the collar up and fix the neckline and then pin it down. So I'll go ahead now to open up my fabric very well so that you guys can understand what I'm doing. So all you just have to do is to pin the neckline into the collar this way and pin it down. So it is very important that you pin it down first before you go ahead to stitch so that it comes out very neat. So I'll come over to the other side as well. I'll fix in my neckline into the collar and pin it down. So it is very important that you pin it down first before you go ahead to stitch so that it comes out very neat. So I'll come over to the other side as well. I'll fix in my neckline into the collar and pin it down. pin it down. So after pinning, I'll take it to my sewing machine now, and then I'll top stitch on the fabric. Top stitch very close to the edge of your fabric and stitch it all the way down. When I'm done with that, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So guys, after stitching down the collar, this is what we have. You can see how neat it looks both on the wrong and on the right side. It looks exactly the same. The next thing I'm going to do is to fold in the sleeve. After folding in, I'll turn the fabric right sides facing each other, and I'll go ahead to close it up using 1 inch seam allowance. When I get to the end of the front panel, I'm going to stop stitching, and then I'll make a notch this way. I'll cut out my fabric this way. I'll repeat the same thing on the other side and show you guys. So guys, after stitching down, this is what we have. So at this point, you're supposed to have finished up the base of your front panel before you even join the two sides together. So I'll go ahead to fold in the remaining part of the back panel this way. So you're folding it to the back this way. Just fold it in twice and stitch it all the way down. Stitch it all the way down, and I'll repeat the same process on the other side. Fold it in twice and stitch it all the way down. So I'll go ahead now to cut out the excess I have on my collar. So like I said earlier, I was supposed to have finished up the base of this upper part even before we join the side. So I'll just go ahead to loosen it a bit. I'll loosen it a bit and then go ahead to fold in and stitch it all the way to the other side. I hope you guys understand. You should have done this earlier even before closing up the sides of your top. So I will go ahead to do that now, and then I'll also fold the base of my top to the other side and stitch it down. So after doing all of that, this is what we have. I finished up the base of the lower part, finished up the base of the upper part, and I also finished up the sides. So before we turn over to the right, I'll just go ahead and notch this curved area. This is going to help it relax very well on the right side. So after notching, I'll flip it now to the right side for you guys to see. So this is what we have. You can see how beautiful and how neat it looks. The next one I want to work on is the pocket. So I'll go ahead now to cut out my fabric and show you guys the next thing to do. So I've gone ahead to cut out the fabrics for my pocket, and I have it in a fold of 2. So before folding, the wideness of the fabric I have here is about 17 inches and the length is about 12 inches. You can work with whatever you want, and I have 2 pieces of it. So the first thing I'm going to do is to fold in the upper part of my pocket twice and stitch it all the way down. After folding, I'll place them right side facing each other this way, and then go ahead to close up the side and close up the base. So I'll repeat the same process for the other one. So after stitching all around, this is what we have. The next thing we want to do is to flip it over to the right side and make sure to bring out all the edges of your pocket, as you can see me doing. So I'll flip the other one and just go ahead to iron out the fabrics. So after ironing, the next thing we want to do is to attach this pocket to the top. So for this style of pocket, I'm going to have half of it hanging below the base of the front panel and half of it hanging above the base of the front panel. And from this side, I'm going to come in by 2.5 inches. So after placing my pockets that way, I'm going to use my pin to just secure it to the fabric. So I'll repeat the same process on the other side. So you're securing this pocket only to the front panel. And then I'll go ahead to pin it on both sides. So right now I'll take it to my sewing machine and go ahead to stitch the pockets to my front panel. Just stop stitch very close to the edge on both sides, and I'll do the same thing on the other side. I'll also stitch the inner part of the pocket to the front panel. You stitch it so that it relaxes well. So after stitching my pocket, this is what we have. So you can all just throw your phone into it this way, and I also stitch the inner part so that it relaxes on the fabric. So this is what we have. So guys, this is where I'll be ending this video for today. I hope you found it useful and I hope you learned something new. So I'll be making my shorts off camera. I'll leave a link in the comment section so that if you want to learn how to make your own shorts, you can just watch that video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.